Hey friends, welcome back to another edition of the channel here. This is Dolany TV as we get set up for that good old Game 3 today. The Edmonton Oilers, the Florida Panthers in the Stanley Cup Final, looking for somebody to take the lead, preferably tonight the Edmonton Oilers by the end of action. As, well, the series has shifted to Florida and the Oilers, well, they got at least a split at home, which is a big improvement compared to the first two games in Florida last year during the Stanley Cup Finals. So, as we get set up for that, there's a couple of housekeeping notes that I wanted to get to in the video last night, but we'll get to right now as just some maybe future site stuff here. So, if you are new to the channel, consider hitting that subscribe button. That's number one, because it's going to be another wild summer in Edmonton, and notably, a few days back, our old friend Dylan Holloway changed his agents, represented by Mr. Connor McDavid's agent, Judd Moldaver. Well, that's an interesting little wrinkle, isn't it? And I think the big thing here is there's a couple of situations, for Holloway. He signed the offer sheet last year, maybe a little victim to the Oilers' Philip Broberg offer sheet. Maybe not wanting to leave as much as Broberg did, but a good chance to chase a lot more money than he was going to get with the Edmonton Oilers this season, though the St. Louis Blues season ends pretty early compared to the Oilers. So, for Mr. Dylan Holloway, there's a couple new options with his agent here. While entering July 1st, he can negotiate a big new contract with St. Louis, right? I mean, he had an outstanding year. As far as St. Louis is concerned, he's a huge part of the core in St. Louis going forward. A guy who plays a pivotal role in that top six for the Blues, and well, there you have it, right? But there is something to be said about that little wrinkle that he's, well, represented by Connor McDavid's agent, and the whole way things that ended in Edmonton, right? I don't think Dylan Holloway was ever quite sold on leaving 100%. I know there's been a lot said about it, a lot done about it here in the past year, and I'm not saying that Dylan Holloway's unhappy with St. Louis, but you got to figure for a team like St. Louis versus a team like Edmonton, one would figure that maybe there is that little part of Dylan Holloway that says, what could I do to get back to the Oilers next year, especially, and this is what I'm going to say, especially if the Edmonton Oilers, well, win the Stanley Cup and are looking to run it back for another year. Well, there is some kind of things that we need to talk about on that perspective, because for Dylan Holloway's $2.1 million cap hit, 2.29, paying some future assets for that, which the Oilers have also kind of acquired here over the last little bit, or at least have some guys percolating in the system that look like they could be worth some value. Well, why 2.9 or 2.29 would be valuable is, we'll get to the bonus overages in a moment with Cory Perry and stuff, but for the Oilers, right, you're got to sign Evan Bouchard to a new deal. You got Jeff Skinner leaving town for $3 million, and you've got a decision to make on if you're running it back for Evander Kane one last time, or if you're moving on, as has been rumored several times, multiple times, million times over the past, well, pretty much since this point last year, after Game 2 of Florida, when we knew Evander Kane wouldn't play anymore in the Stanley Cup Finals or that season. We kind of have been talking ever since that Evander Kane's likely not here past his playoff run. So you start talking about freeing up Evander Kane kind of money and needing to replace both Jeff Skinner and, of course, Evander Kane, and possibly even Victor Arvidsson. I mean, I feel bad for the guy just coming in, got injured right out of the gate, and just never lived up to expectation for dollar-wise contract value. But other than that, Victor Arvidsson's been Victor Arvidsson, especially in these playoffs. But you start talking about moving out somewhere around $10, $11 million of cap hit, and guys that were all projected to be top six forwards or have been top six forwards at some point this year. You're going to have to start talking about adding again. And for, Matt Savoy, sure, he factors in, and what do you do with Cory Perry and all that. But Dylan Holloway, I mean, depending how the Oilers break things down and how contract talks go with the St. Louis Blues, there might be a little bit of Dylan Holloway that says here with his new agent, and specifically because of the relationship with Connor McDavid, the Edmonton Oilers, Jeff Jackson, the whole works, one would figure there might be something here that wrinkles Dylan Holloway possibly back to the Oilers this offseason. Now, The thing is, it obviously can't happen until a year after the offer sheet was signed. So you're talking again late summer. I don't know if it's a year to the date of the offer sheet or a year calendar NHL wise, which would be July 1st. But either which way, there seems to me at least to be a little opportunity there for the Oilers just based on that move. Again, that said, Judd over there, he's going to be negotiating the Connor McDavid extension. So if he does good for that extension, you can assume that Dylan Holloway is looking to cash in with the St. Louis Blues as well, as opposed to really force a trade over back to Edmonton. But again, never say never, right? We said that the Oilers wouldn't lose Holloway on an offer sheet. They'd match all this, everything that happened over the course of last summer. Big old reason why I've been as sporadic this year as I have been. But yeah, it's just one of those things. Is Dylan Holloway to the Oilers, I don't see how you can say no as an Oilers fan if the Oilers find the right price and Dylan Holloway finds a way out to get on back to the team, especially after a very successful year so far. If you achieve the ultimate goal and you can kind of mix and match the pieces again like we did this year after last year and run it back with a piece from 2 years ago that was highly successful in the playoffs for you. Again, this all hinges though on Mr. Dylan Holloway staying healthy. That's the hard part for him. I feel so bad for the guy. He is so talented. He has got such a high ceiling, and especially if he ends up playing next to Connor McDavid or Leon Draisaitl, he could dummy numbers unlike most top six forwards in Edmonton. But the issue is just staying healthy and not being banged up while playing has been an absolute hardship for him to endure over the course of his career so far. So we'll see what happens here for Dylan Holloway and the Edmonton Oilers, friends. But that is where we get to the final slide of the evening, which is for the Oilers, there is that wrinkle of the bonus overages. And Cory Perry here, just on the weekend, we learned that Cory Perry, yes, indeed, did check mark the box for an extra $100K in performance bonuses. So when you look at that, the Oilers are going to be short $250K of cap. So yeah, that is this is kind of a hard part for the Oilers, because now all of a sudden you're missing cap space for a guy that might not even be on the team next year. So that's where the Oilers are going to kind of be uptight against the cap, and that's where I talk about Victor Arvidsson, Jeff Skinner, and of course Evander Kane. But that's all future sight, just kind of getting that, laying the groundwork for what will be bigger discussions in the summer when we hopefully kind of after July long weekend get back to regular action here on the channel. But that said, there is going to be some pretty intense stuff coming up. But now we focus and turn our attention back to game number 3 against the Florida Panthers, friends. Let's go Oilers. Hopefully down in Sunrise we're playing La Bamba and Pink Pony Club in the dressing room post game, and the Edmonton Oilers are riding on into game 4 with a 2-1 series lead and a chance to make it 3-1. And you know what, we're talking about game 5 then. So that's it. That's all. We'll chat with you post game, game 3. I am up on out of here.